Well, thank you all for coming to spend some time here at the museum this afternoon on this gorgeous day outside. I know it's really nice out, and hopefully get some time to enjoy it afterwards. But we're here with the artist John Moyers and his amazing photography. And so I thank you all for coming, and I'd just like to remind you all that if you're not a friend on Facebook with the Blanden Art Museum, please friend us and follow us. We post a lot of our events and activities on our Facebook page, but also too, you can follow our website. We post a lot of things on the website. And if you're not a member yet, think about being a member, because membership helps support the ongoing mission of the museum by providing us funds for bringing in artists like John and other artists. So if you need some more information on that, just get a hold of me, or it's all on our website too. So thank you again for coming. And with that, I'm just going to turn it over to John here, and we'll do a round of applause to welcome him here first, and then we'll let John kind of take over. So, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then at the end there's certainly time for questions and comments. My wife reminded me that her paternal grandparents are buried in the Corpus Christi Cemetery in Fort Dodge here. And they were in the general store business, right? Furlong and Malloy. We're here, and the Catherine's family farm is still in Cherokee, Iowa. Eric, thank you for inviting me, and thanks for the opportunity. This means a lot to me. And Eric said I was supposed to explain what I was doing, and if you just read the inside of this, you'll know that Eric understands better about what I'm doing than I do. And I mean that sincerely. I learned a lot about what I was trying to do, and I think I can do it better now. Thank you. And I probably owe you some money for the continuing education or something here. Pam, thank you for your kindness. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for helping me, and thanks to you and the museum for being so welcoming. This is wonderful space here. So I was saying before, this is as good as my photos are going to look. This is fabulous. Here, Jim Leach is from, used to be the congressman from our district in Iowa City, and he was finished his career in Washington as head of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and his wife is also involved in the museum and the grant business and all that. And I told him I was coming up here to exhibit my photographs, and I said, "Oh, this museum's a gem. You'll really," and they were right. They were right. It's a wonderful, wonderful museum. Thank you all for coming. Deb Zisco, who was the artist here before me, introduced me to the museum, and to Eric. Thank you. That was very nice. John Quinn, who was, I knew I'll talk about my former career as an anesthesiologist, and that I've kept in touch, fellow anesthesiologist. Thank you for coming. John. I went from kindergarten through medical school in Iowa City, and for the last 35 years of my working career, I did anesthesia with heart surgery at the university hospitals and the College of Medicine. I retired 9 years ago, and it was time for me to do something else. And watching Andy Griffith reruns is probably not the answer. Answer to that, I like being outdoors, I like the natural world, and so I started taking pictures. And the problem was that I didn't know anything about it. I'm pretty much self-taught. I learned the wrong way. I learned backwards. Managed well to start taking pictures, and I knew nothing about composition or my camera, how the buttons worked. just went out and started taking pictures. And some of them were okay, and some of them weren't so okay. The one of the bucking bronco there was one of my early pictures, and I was talking to Mike beforehand, and that was a happy accident. Most of my photos didn't turn out like that. I took a few online courses, talked to other photographers, went to a few weekend courses, and began to learn what it was all about. My cameras are these. It's a Nikon camera. This is one I would take like the portrait with, is with this camera here, and to take the pictures like that one of the sandhill cranes in Nebraska, or the crocodile there in Costa Rica. You need a telephoto lens like this. And I can still hand hold this, and so I can carry it with me. And that, as opposed to having a tripod on there, when you have the tripod, you can't move the camera around as fast as you'd like, and you won't be able to get pictures like that, or the roseate spoonbill has just landed, because you've got to track it down till it goes into the water, and I can't do that with a tripod, and so it's still light enough that I can hold on to it and use it. And I began to learn about composition. People told me, what's the subject? What are you trying to think of? Like right there, I know what the subject of that is. That was that's Carlos. That's a construction worker in Cuba. And there, what the subject, or what story is it telling? And I was talking to Eric earlier about the one back there with the bubbles, the street artist there in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I like the story there. It tells about these street artists who are trying to pave their way to Cuba there, and I thought that makes it worthy of the photograph. And also, I was telling you, some people don't like that. They think the background is too busy, there's too much going on there, and that it's not composed particularly well, but I still keep trying to sneak it into the exhibits and have people look at it there. Although I'll be honest with you, I've never sold one of those, and in all the contests I've sent it to, I never got any traction at all. And it's not a very good photograph. I don't know. And also I also learned that the background was important. And so you can see in the one I just spoke about there in Copenhagen there, the background's real busy. And maybe that's why it's not an attractive picture. The one next to it, to my right there, the hummingbird, the background there is blurred. It's just kind of green, and all that. And the experts tell me that's the way to do it when you're editing them. Is don't have the background detract from your subject. Meaning that the hummingbird there and the bee, you got to stick on those so your eye doesn't go someplace else. Is what they tell me. Also, as I speak here, these are my ideas. These are what I think is important. I haven't had schooling in this, and I don't put myself out as an expert on composition or background or anything else. The other thing that I think I learned, and all that, was the edges of the photograph. You can't cut things off on the edges. And here, there's space between the construction worker's elbow and the side there. On this one here with the bison on it, when you go up close, I tried to edit that so that none of the bison got cut off. And there, it's been important to me in my photography, but you have to, I think I've been told you have to know the rules in order to break them. And I'm pretty careful about breaking the rules. Eric is not. And he just cut the guy's hat right off there. And I hope I'm not hurting your feelings. Let me finish before you shut the camera off and kick me out, something like that. But here, on this one, you know, it just cuts the top right off there. I took almost 90 photographs there before I got the entire car from the roller coaster in focus and on there, so that I wouldn't violate that. But I think this is fun. I'm just a coward. I'm not ready. I don't have the guts. I don't have the guts to do it. And I suppose that's the difference between having formal training and being an expert and spending years of doing this, and me. Because I'll get there, but I'm not.
I'm confident you will.
I'm not. Thank you. God bless you. There. The other thing is the lighting. And just like the background is as important as the subject is, you certainly don't want it to detract from the subject. And I can say one more thing about the background before. In the one with the hay bale there, that's the Johnson County hay bale toss, right? And then the most important part of that photo there is the girl in the background who's doing this, just hoping that she makes it. And that's got to be blurred, in my opinion. That's got to be blurred enough so that she's there and you see her eventually, but can't detract from the 16-year-old there who's winning the 16 years old and under hay bale toss and there. So that's what I think I learned about background. And as I said, the lighting is 80% of it, maybe more than that. And you learn to go out early in the morning and wait for those bears to show up. And the light has to be behind you for those, in my opinion. I was taught early in the game to have the light behind you and your shadow point at what you're taking a picture of. And that fit my mind really well in those days for it to be simple. But I think they're right for that. And also for this, the roseate spoonbill there, the light is from the left, but somewhat behind there. But the light and the lighting makes that picture. That's why if the lighting's not right, then it's not nearly as good a picture as I think it is. There. The other thing is planning. And by that I mean that for all these sandhill cranes, they're in Nebraska mid-February through March. If you go there other times of the year, they're not there. You can go, but they're not. They're none of them that are there. And you have to go out in the cornfields in the afternoon. Because in the morning they're all down by the river, and then later in the afternoon they all fly back to the river, and you have to be there and wait for them. And you have to find a spot where there are just a few of them like that. Because otherwise there are hundreds of them there, and when I take a picture of them, it's just a picture of a bunch of birds. They're all facing different directions. And it's not a very interesting picture. And they don't pose. And that makes it difficult too. You have to wait for that. Just take a bunch of pictures, and for these, the bears. The bears there, they did not just walk out and just stand up I went there for 4 or 5 days in the morning waiting for the bears. And sometimes they came out, a couple mornings they didn't even come out. So I just sat there in my car all morning and waited, and then I went back at lunchtime. But for here they came out, they both stood up, and I took their picture. And there, but you have to know that they're going to be there, and you have to I'll say you have to be patient and take a lot of pictures or wait for them to show up. I'd say when I showed my cameras, talked about my cameras and one more thing, that the one back there of the bison up close, as I took that with my cell phone, with this camera, with the camera on my cell phone, which are pretty good cameras in them. And I took it that, the camera I had then in my lap in the car was this one, and if something is closer than 8 feet, it just won't focus on it, it won't focus that close. And so I scrambled and I got my phone out, and let's see how I can say this politely. That was kind of a strain on our marriage, I guess. I'm sitting at the driver's side, and Catherine's sitting over here, and the bison's kind of walking up over here, and Catherine says, I'm not going to explain it right. So, Catherine, would you like to explain what really happened?
It really
this is my wife, Catherine.
It really is that close. My recollection is that the buffalo was this far from our window. And if he had tipped his head, he couldn't, it felt like he could tip over our car because you're parked on the side of the road, and you're kind of like this anyway. And he was looking for a space to come across the road in between the cars, And if he hadn't found that space, he might have, it was frightening. So I'm so glad he got the picture and we could just stop,
I just wanted Eric and Pam to know that I'm committed. I'm committed to taking these photos. And where there they are on the other side of the river. They're on the other side of the Yellowstone River, and they cross the river every day. And I was just waiting for them to cross the river. And I took a bunch of pictures while they were crossing the river. And then they crossed the river where all the cars were. I mean, it was a traffic jam. We couldn't go anywhere. And we would have run over them. And so we're just waiting there. And maybe I took a few more chances than I should. But I edit the photographs on my computer at home, and I use Lightroom and Photoshop, and crop them so that the image is. They told me I'm not supposed to put the image right in the middle of the photograph. You're supposed to put it toward one of the corners and make sure the edges are okay, and look to see if they're in focus. That's another thing Catherine told me that I might want to mention is that if I go out in the morning, for example, to take pictures of birds. Again, that's a reddish egret from Florida, or to take pictures of that monkey from capuchin monkey from Costa Rica. I may take like 500 pictures in the morning, and about, for me, maybe 10% of them, may have 50, that are decent photographs. The ones that are not in focus, I throw away right away. Some of them are just, other ones are not very good photographs. So I may get 40 or 50 out of that I can edit on there and try to put them in the right place in the frame, and what I think is the right place in the frame, and maybe make sure that the colors look as realistic as possible. They're making sure that I think the reds really represent the reds that I saw when I was there, and that and adjust some of the lighting so that the whites aren't too white, and the background is dark in there, but you can still see that there's green in there to do that, and then None of these are edited a whole bunch, meaning that I never took out something really big with Photoshop and there, or that I didn't add anything that's artificial. Like for that, for the one with the bee back there, the bee and the hummingbird back there, that bee is not Photoshopped in there. It was there, and it was in focus like that, and I wouldn't make it too artificial by taking something big out or putting something big in there. But I will on this one, the background here on Carlos, the construction worker, there were some things that distracted me, as the viewer distracted me in the wall behind him. And so I took those out, erased those out. And there's a way you can clone this part of the photo and cover up the some imperfection in the background or whatever. And I thought it was distracting, and I took some of that out back there, trying to leave enough so you could tell it was that it was a wall back there. And the other thing that I think that helps me, I don't want to embarrass, but it's true. Catherine helps me a lot, and she helps me a lot in what I should take a picture of, and also she helps me with the editing, and that helps me a lot too. So I can stand back from it a little bit through her and say, well, you should do this, or you should do that, or this is a good picture, or that's a good picture, and she's been really really good for me. And Michael, when you asked me a question about the background, and I didn't answer it all, and I'll answer it now. That's early in the game. I didn't understand how important the background was, like for that one over there, and I didn't realize how busy background or whatever would distract the viewer. And also that one, the background is for me, is hopeless, and to try and fix it, to take things out, or try to blur it. There's too many spaces in between the foreground and the background. I can't do that. And I got better at things like this, or that the surfer, where the background there is not a problem, not a problem at all. Or this the bird there, just to go, and I took the picture, trying to make sure there's not stuff in the background. Maybe with this monkey, that's the best one I could get there. You can see with those branches and stuff in the background, that may be too busy there. I don't know, but that's the best picture I could get. I could get of that. In an ideal world, there would be, you could see that there was dirt back there and stuff, that those branches wouldn't be in there, and I couldn't really take them out. So again, that's it. Before questions and stuff, I want to say again, thank you for letting me do this. Thank you all for coming, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or listen to any comments from all. I'm still learning, so please ask questions or comments that will help me. Thank you.
Who's the band?
His band. That's at an outdoor. This one here. It's an outdoor concert at Hampshire Auditorium in Iowa City, out on the green, and it's the Steep Canyon Rangers, and they are Steve. Who's the comedian who plays the
Martin?
Steve Martin. They're Steve Martin's band. He plays the banjo, and that's his band. Steve Martin's not there for this event. He'd been there previously with Martin Short, and the band had been there. And these guys are so good. They had them back, and so I took a picture. Of the band. I used this lens because we were back there far enough. And to be honest with you, I had trouble with that, trying to get the lighting correct. There, so it wasn't too dark or too light. Also, they're moving a lot, so the shutter couldn't be open. The shutter couldn't be open very long. So I took I wanted the crowd in it. Also, I took a lot of pictures of the band. Most of them weren't very good, but I thought that one was because of the focus. It kind of captured what was what was going on. And when I took it, it was underexposed. Yes, it was a dark picture. And that, so I could get the shutter speed right, and their hands on the instruments wouldn't be blurred. And then I increased the exposure for there, and I was able to do that, and it wasn't too grainy. And so that took some work for me.
With the computer?
And the editing to do, yes, on my computer. Yeah, I don't, some people edit in their camera, I don't. And there, I just take the little chip out of there and put it right in my computer and try to edit it all in the, edit all on my computer. Also, quite frankly, there's a friend of mine who's also a photographer, and then who prints these named Dick Sholin. And he helps me a lot too. I always go there when he prints the photos, because he puts them on his computer and we look at them together. And he helps me a lot, and then I get free education from him also. It helps me a lot. He's really good also. The other thing, he'll look at something and there won't be any comment. He'll just do that and then he'll print it, or he'll get another one and say, oh, that's a good picture. And so I know that somebody else who knows thinks that's a good picture. But yeah, it's edited on my computer. And I take another thumb drive that has my edited pictures on it to him, and he prints them on paper there. And he's really good about selecting the right paper for that. And also, I think for one like this, if it was a little more grainy than he wanted to, because I had it underexposed and the shutter speed too quick, he can fix some of that sometimes. He didn't on that one, but he can fix some of it. And I don't do that as cheating. If it takes some of the grain out of that. And the other thing I would say is if the photograph is overexposed, I can't fix it. By that one I mean if it's too bright, all of a sudden it looks like an atomic blast or something like that. I can't fix that. I don't know anybody who can. They call it like blowing the highlights. It's what they got. You can't. And if it's blurred or out of focus, that's, I think, as far as I know, is impossible to fix. And there, so that's why for the things that are moving, like those, certainly for those birds there, I use automatic focus. Because sometimes the camera's moving. They're moving and all that. You need to use really fast shutter speed, and I don't want to be trying to hold this with both hands and trying to twist these and focus it at the same time. I'm not that good, and so I use the automatic focus for that, which automatically fixes the lighting also. That's why I have this lens and this camera. It's because they can focus just like that. And while I'm moving and the thing moving, is their focus faster than that works, so that helps a lot. I know that was a long answer to your question, but it helped me despite some other things that I thought were. But there was a question. Yes, ma'am.
Do you always often edit the color in like your wildlife pictures, or do you sometimes get it right the first time and then lose it?
Oh no, I get it right the first time. No, I think that's a good question. I always look to edit the color and every time. Sometimes I don't change them. I think in every one of these pictures I change something at least a little bit. And I would, for example, the bison there that almost finished my marriage on there. The colors on there, especially the ones that are lavender or purple or whatever, I increased those a little bit because I thought it made a better picture. And I don't think that I increased them so much that it's a false color in there, but I did increase the level on that. And the first thing I do is I make sure they're level, like the one of the bronc rider, the fence and everything in the background is level there. And I do that. And then I crop them, and then I deal with the exposure. and with the light and the dark. And I change those quite frequently in there so that nothing's too bright. If they're still too bright, I have to throw it away, or that nothing's too dark, like all the black T-shirts in that the roller coaster one right away are just not so black you can't tell they're T-shirts. And then I deal with the colors, usually with the little slider that says vibrance and saturation, and I experiment with those, trying to make it better. Nowadays, certainly if I'm going to enter some contest or something like that, I'll push it. But the judges seem to be interested in lots of color, so I'll push up the saturation, the vibrance on those often. And occasionally, I'll go in and deal with just an individual color. Like for that roseate spoonbill there, I went in there on the reds and pushed that up a little bit to really make it red, because I personally think it's a better photograph there. And some people think that's cheating, and I don't apologize for it and all that. And I don't mean that your question would make me feel awkward or anything. Thank you for asking it, but I turn until I think it makes a good picture. And Catherine reminded me that early in the game I had two people who taught photography at Iowa help me with my pictures. In fact, they'd been my patients for heart surgery beforehand, and came back and helped me. And I asked them that question about how much leeway do you have in adjusting the colors? For example, they said, it's art, you do whatever you want. And one is that helped me a lot, I think. And that's what I do. I think if you went to Florida and saw one of those, you wouldn't think that was a fake. They're really light color, but I wanted to make it as much like to my eye, to make it a pleasing photograph. I will say in some of the tough contests that you enter, you have to send in your image unadulterated too, so they can see that and see exactly what it looked like when you take it. And if you've changed it too much, then you don't get anywhere. And that's fine with me, but they're pretty clear about that. Yes, sir.
When it comes to the cub bears up there, how close was you taking the picture?
Oh, thank you for asking that. The rules, that's in Yellowstone National Park, and the rules there are you're supposed to be 100 yards away. And so I would say that probably I was 101 yards away there. By that I mean that there were, by the time they got there, they were really close to the road. The rangers came out there and were keeping, and I think appropriately so, people back from that. And that's why I have this lens. So you can be 100 miles away, 100 yards away, and to get a picture so you can see the one as a piece of grass in his mouth, and you can see their fur and all that. The bison was supposed to be 30 yards away, and obviously for that we weren't. There you're supposed to just roll up your windows, and there are people every year who get gored by the bison because they don't know, and there are people who get attacked by bears also. Especially the mothers are very protective. Maybe you know more about this than I do. But the mothers are very protective of the cubs, and you don't want to get in between the mom and the cubs, or you'll be attacked. They're also they're the rangers. The silence is interesting. These bears move closer, and they cross the road. And when they cross the road, the rangers put up little pylons and traffic stops for there. And there are people lined up for miles on both sides while the bears cross the road. And then when they're 100 miles on the other side of the road, they let the traffic go through again.
That's a neat picture.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Thank you for saying that. Deb?
John, that like it's become very fond of you.
There. And,
Did you become friends?
well, it's interesting. I mean, when I sent the picture to my grandchildren, I said and I don't, and especially in Iowa, I don't mean this to be a political statement or talk about evolution or anything. I said they're cousins. That's how when I sent that. And no, I waited. I think for me, it makes it a better picture when they're looking right at you. So that's the picture I chose. I took a whole bunch of pictures of that monkey, and he was looking at. We were on this boat, and we were looking at him. He was looking at us on the boat, and there. And you hope, quite frankly, in that instance, that we're not we're in their habitat, and that it's a friendly look at it, and that are we intruding? A bunch of tourists here from the Midwest who are going down looking at this freak show down there, and are we interfering in their territory? I hope that we're friends, and they're called capuchin monkeys because they look like capuchin monks. Their hoods and all that looked like there, and so I think the people that named them thought they looked maybe human-like.
Were there more than one?
Yes. Yeah, there were a family of them. They come in
A tree.
troops. Thanks, Kathy. See, until I.
You were a tree full of.
Yeah, a tree full, and they're going down getting drinking water, and some of them are scouts because the crocodiles will leave them if they're there. But it's hot; it was 9 degrees down there to get water, and some of them just stick their tails in the water and then drink the water from their tails. And this one was down waiting, and went down and got some sips of water, and then went back up on there. Did you have a question? Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Say again what you did for a living.
Like Dr. Quinn here, I was an anesthesiologist at the University Hospitals, and my job when I went back there was to revitalize the group that did anesthesia for the cardiothoracic surgery.
So don't you think it's interesting that you spend your life encased in an operating room and no stimulus around you and saving people's lives and minor things and putting people to sleep. And now you're spending the life all outdoors in wide open spaces and then sharing all of that with other people now. It's almost like I'm just thinking about your brain.
Thank you. I've thought a little bit about that, but not as well as you. You like Eric? And here, and I think that was part of it. Yeah, I did feel I liked what I did, and I thought I was good at it, and I like helping people. Like my work on it, but you're right, it was confining. And I think, this is very different. I think that's part of the reason that I like it is to be outdoors. And that also, I'll be quite honest with you, I never thought in my wildest imagination that I would take photographs like this and that other people would want to see them, or they would be in this sort of facility. And it's great, it's wonderful. For me, it's completely different. And also, I think it allows, I feel, I don't want to get too personal here, and you want a purpose of life when you retire. And again, not being down there watching Andy Griffith on the TV all the time. And there, so to have people who come up and ask questions like that and everything, it's great. Thank you. Yes.
Never felt unsafe, aside from the buffalo, but maybe the animals are irritated or?
Yes. And I have, that was I'd probably not do that again. There was had a couple other incidents. One was with another bison where Catherine told me to get back in the car, I've got a picture of a black bear from Yellowstone where started charging up the hill. Some kid, there were some, this is going to sound terrible. There were some like 5th graders or something in front of me, and it was one of those where I can run faster than they can. So, you may have to edit that out. No, I jumped in the car with a ranger because of that, and I think I'm not that dedicated. But yeah, you have to be careful, and also sometimes where I was out by myself or someplace walking around where I'm not going to go up there, because if I do, my cell phone doesn't work. If I get injured, no one will know I'm here. And if I had other people with me, I'd go and that sort of thing, but not do something stupid like that. Also, the other thing is I'm 76 years old, I'm not getting younger, and I have to be careful about where I go so critters don't eat me or whatever, or that I don't get lost, injured, or hypothermic or something like that. Yes?
Oh, I just had a comment.
Oh.
When you're talking about the bears, they both look like they have grins on their face. The thing I thought was that they're going, oh boy, another photographer for lunch.
And I never thought about that, but they quit eating the blueberries. And I don't know if they didn't view me as lunch or not. And I think I don't want to over dramatize it, but I think that's some of it is not to be an idiot and make sure that you are in some place that is safe and that you're not somebody's lunch, or you're not going to get eaten by some crocodile, because it's over. I mean, they just take it down the bottom of the river, and it's over. So you have to be careful. We were safe there in a boat. We had a guide and all that sort of thing. I will say another thing about these, and these two cubs are a year old, and their mom's name is Blondie, and she's one of the most photographed grizzly bears in the world. And one of her friends there is bear number, I think it's 599 or something like that. That's the most photographed grizzly bear in the whole world. And if you're patient, they'll kind of come to the same space, the same place. You can take pictures of them, and that. And I'll say one more thing. It's about the Blondie has a tag. She has a tag on there, and I have pictures of her, and I don't know whether to take the tag off or not, whether that's cheating or whether it adds to the photograph or what. They're young if they don't have tags on them. So are there other? John?
I noticed in photojournalism in the Des Moines Register, they have 3 or 4 or 5 photographers, and they get a byline and credit, and at the end.
Yes.
There was a band at Hilton Coliseum in 2004, and I actually cut out the image, and I just noted that photographer's name. It wasn't one of the normal register photographers over the years. But just like 2 years ago, I noticed that, and I researched him a little bit online, and the best I could find out that I think he lived like south of Des Moines, 50 miles or something, in a small town. But it was an AP photo. Do you know any photojournalists? Or, I mean, I don't know what the question really is, but that's not a guy from a small town in rural Iowa taking associated. Is that a special contract he would have with the AP or something?
I don't know. I'm gonna guess. And if it had AP attached to his name, he may have some contract with them, or he may have just sold them the photograph for that, because as we were talking about before in the journalism business, certainly the local photojournalism and journalism in general is not growing. And so they don't have as many staff. They don't have as many staff photographers. So they may have just hired him. And he may have a studio where he does weddings and stuff like that also. And that, I think it's very difficult to make your living as a photographer.
But I think like Des Moines and Iowa City Press and Sioux City, aren't those salary photographers probably?
They would have some, I would think, not a lot. They may not have had anybody at that event there, but I don't know. My guess is those photographers are good enough that if they had one of their photographers at the event, they could get a photo that was appropriate for the newspaper.
They're at these 3 or 4, for example, at the Register, they'll be at courts, courtroom things, and they'll be at sporting events. And
Yes.
they're there every day. And
Yes.
Iowa State Fair and all these things.
Yes, that's right.
Excuse me, the Register, they actually had a Pulitzer winner about 10 years ago. It was, firemen reaching down out of a helicopter, or somebody caught on the dam or something.
Yeah, and they're there, they're ready to go, and they see the helicopter coming and all that. They need to get at the right angle and try to get on the right side of the light and stuff. And some of it's luck when they're there, but you end up with a photograph like that. And on that other, again, I don't know anything about the original one you were talking about, but the people may know him and say, "Can you come up and do this?"
I've had it framed in my basement for 20
Yeah.
years.
And
It's
there?
a newspaper.
And there?
But it's,
Yeah.
a band I like.
You can tell the story about the Harvest Media. You thought somebody would want those rodeo pictures, and Chuck Peters told you.
Again, it was early in the game for me, and Chuck Peters is from Fort Dodge, Iowa, and he was, I think it still is, it's called Foliage now, but he was head of Gazette Communications, which is Channel 9 News in there, the Cedar Rapids Gazette, and all communications they do. He was the head of that, and I had the picture of the bucking bronco there, and I had a picture of Rodeo Clown, I had a picture of that one, and I said, Chuck, I think these are good photos, and I can't find a venue. I can't find a venue for them, and I can't find anybody who's interested in publishing. He says, I can, and it was one of the people he knew in the newspaper business and all that was the Tri-State Livestock News in Belle Fourche. I think that's in North Dakota, up there. And they publication I'd never heard of, and they publish stuff about livestock in North and South Dakota, Montana, and those are the states he said I could get. And so pretty soon the publisher up there sent me, send me your photographs and that was the first thing I ever got published. Was in the Tri-State Livestock News, and I figured, it's not like the Des Moines Register, or it's not National Geographic or anything, but it got me going for a little while. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Let's give John a round of applause. And I know that there's plenty to eat out there, so help yourselves to food and drink out there. And again, remember to like us on Facebook and check us out on the website. And if you're not a member, please think about joining. And thank you again for spending your afternoon here at the museum. So thank you.